Welcome to Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religion. I am Rabbi Patrick. This is Javon, the son. Fearless, irreverent, always spiritual. Produced by Darshan Yeshiva. Javon, how you doing today? Fine. So you've got some adventures coming up. We're very excited. Do you want to tell the people, or is this going to be a mystery?
All right, people, listen. You don't need to know anything. Next. On
to the topic. All right. Well, maybe when you get back from said adventures, that's when you'll tell everybody, just like you did last time.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go. So he's going on some adventures. There's going to be, a little bit of recycling of some content. There'll be some new content from me. Maybe we'll figure out some kind of way where Javon can come up with ideas and tell me what to do. We'll figure out some stuff. Don't worry, Rabbi and Son is not going anywhere. So first topic is
gerrymandering.
Okay, so I have a PDF that I'm going to make available in the show notes. It's a class that I teach called We Need to Talk About Corruption. And I lay out the sort of biblical and Talmudic ideas around corruption and the fact that the Bible frequently brings up the fact that you need to have an independent judiciary because, we didn't have Congress and stuff like that back then. So you had the political system you had, but the idea was no corruption. So that'll be in the show notes. But Javon, why has this topic got you so worked up?
Well, I feel like this is stacked on, between the broader issues going on in society today.
Okay.
Things we get in the political, sphere, and how, I'm a person that believes, like, if you think something's wrong when one person does it, that means when another person does it, you should also feel as though it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You should not make excuses because, I like this person, so this is the excuse why they did, why they did and how that was right compared to the person that you didn't like.
Right.
And how they were doing the exact same thing, but somehow they're worse for doing the exact same thing, but you're making excuses for the person you like. It's like, it just tells me that you don't really believe in anything and you have no solid foundation of beliefs.
Right.
And that at the drop of a hat that you will quickly, switch up your morals, just because you are in favor, or if you're not in favor, against the other person. So you make the change to be like, to have that, answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in other words, hypocrisy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Long explanation.
But you're right, because hypocrisy, it hits on not just the moral level, but also on an emotional level. That if you claim to have a centrally held belief and then you go back on it when, times are tight, or you feel like your back's up against a wall, or it's not convenient to believe that anymore, then then it questions your integrity. Yeah. So, obviously this will be in the show notes, but a lot of the way that we think about a moral framework when it comes to government and politics and whatever really has to do with the idea of there needing to be independence, meaning that, anything that can involve bribery, anything that can involve, so for example, there's this idea that you don't give extra benefit of the doubt to a poor person, which actually sounds kind of terrible because it's like, well, yeah, but they're poor. Shouldn't you kind of give them? Well, yeah, but it's a yes and, because on the other side, it's you should also never give preference to a wealthy person because they have more power. So you can't have sort of compassion only when it affects marginalized people, and you can't have sort of a dismissive type of compassion only when it impacts the powerful. Right? You have to be as independent and as neutral as you possibly can in anything. I just got real Southern real fast. Anything that is involving court cases, right? So everything in the Jewish legal mind is about court, because that's what you had. You had monarchy and religious authority and court cases, and all of the judges that were dealing with case laws and common laws and stuff like that. And it was all about this idea of you have to remain neutral. And the neutrality argument is so strong that even in cases where it is obvious that someone did something wrong, you still let it go. You always favor this independent, neutral, middle perspective over even something where it's like, no, duh, of course this person did something. It's why the rabbis got rid of the death penalty. Um, it's why Judaism eventually evolved away certain rules, but then emphasized others. It was all because of this idea that you don't want hypocrisy. That is a terrible, terrible situation. And yeah, the stuff with gerrymandering and a lot of other things, it does call into question, what are people thinking?
Yeah, I just feel like in this conversation, not that gerrymandering is a new thing, because it's not.
Right.
It's always been a thing since, the founding of this country. And, people want to carve out special districts so they have more power.
Yeah.
And, it's not like a new problem right now, because it's getting a lot of media attention, because, Texas wants to redraw their districts to eliminate, Democratic districts, make their districts less competitive and, stifling people's voices. And then, California's doing the exact same thing. And it's like both sides are cheering, but then simultaneously saying, well, the other side, the reason they're doing that and this is bad,
Right.
because this and this reason, but our side is good because of this reason.
Mm-hmm.
But then, then the other side is the same thing.
Right.
So we're saying, both sides are saying the thing is bad,
mm-hmm.
but you don't care, but you think it's bad when the other side does it.
Right.
So is it bad, or is it bad because you don't like that other person?
Well, and I think that that's just it, is that it's actually about, I just don't like that other team. I don't like their policies. I don't like whatever. So if that's a tool that they're using to, whatever, cause me a hard time, then of course now I can use that tool back. And it's like, no. This shouldn't be a tool that anybody gets to use.
Yeah, I just feel like we already have so many problems in our political system now, with the money in politics.
Yeah.
The just really old politicians continue to stay in power for basically their whole lives.
Right.
And dying in office.
Right.
So it's just like, average people's voices are getting dampened, and that's being celebrated. You're celebrating your voice being dampened.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice in the political system in which you have to live in is being lessened, and you're cheering for that.
Right.
What are you cheering for?
Right.
Cheering because you no longer have representation and you can no longer voice an opinion? Is that something to cheer about? And I feel like everyone's losing perspective.
Right.
You can't say democracy's eroding and then advocate for a practice that's actively eroding democracy. Right. And then saying, no, but it's going to save us this way. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's going to erode us, and it's going to drive us further apart, because we can't even agree on simple things,
right,
which people can't seem to do now, or even have a broad conversation and look at, the big picture, and, instead of the, just what's in your face now. And, I think fear is driving people.
Yeah.
And people, politicians are noticing that. And what is that doing? Fleshing that in the media, making that the primary, so then people are scared.
Right.
Scared people make mistakes.
That's a good line.
Yes. Yeah. And this is a big mistake. It just is not going to end up good for anyone. You're suppressing people's voices. And ultimately, if your ultimate goal is to preserve democracy, you shouldn't be fighting for gerrymandering. You should be fighting against the practice as a whole. But, as I said, money in politics and, politicians being corrupt, that gerrymandering has been a thing. And seeing as both sides benefited from it, no one's wanted to get rid of it.
Right.
On the national level, at least.
Right.
State level, well, here in Virginia, we have an independent commission, and other states do as well. But, that's not, the standard nationally.
Right.
Which it should be.
Right. Yeah, I wonder to what degree this kind of framing of our politics as being warfare is part of the problem. Because I remember Rabbi Ben Romer of blessed memory, co-founder of the conversion program at Darshan Yeshiva, when he was an army chaplain, part of what he felt his job was to give people a sense of like a moral compass, like a moral north. Because in the fog of war, and we'll talk about this in other ways in other episodes, when you're in the fog of war, your sense of morality can get real screwed up because you're just in the moment, right? And I wonder if when we frame everything in this kind of warfare like language, it's us against them and whatever, if it does lend itself to a little bit of a freedom of, well, then if it's a war, if it's a battle or whatever, well, then yeah, of course I'm going to be okay with blah, 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 doing this thing, going against my, firmly held convictions on such and such a thing. Because we're in a battle, we're in a war, we're fighting for everything. And that's where I think religion has to do a better job, is providing people a little bit of that sort of compass, pointing people north of saying, okay, everybody, like, let's kind of calm down a little bit and let's try to figure out a way that we can get through this together. Because otherwise you go against all of your firmly held convictions.
Yeah, so and it's like multiple issues, not just, gerrymander. It's multiple issues where it's, you believe something until, it's convenient.
Right.
And then I just don't understand where people are at. And, mentally.
Okay.
I just don't know where people are at.
Is there other stuff where you're like, I don't get where people are at with this?
I mean, it's like, I feel like every time, especially when you're on social media, you realize we're having like the same circular conversation.
Right.
That ultimately doesn't get anywhere.
Right.
And people's logic has become so circular, they're just like, well, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Like, how
right.
I'm just going to continue to use gerrymandering because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's, okay, so democracy is in danger, so this and this needs to happen, but now that this side is doing this other thing, then we need to do the thing that they're doing, that we also believe is undemocratic, to save democracy.
Right.
That you just went in a circle, right? And you didn't make any sense because now you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, you can't say you're saving something by doing the opposite of that something.
Right.
So say we get through this. Texas, California, New York, Maryland, Illinois, Florida, Louisiana. I'm drawing any state name at this point. Mm-hmm. But like, at the end of this, what does that look like for people?
Right. Right.
Like, what does that look like? Does that look like an accurate representation of America's voices?
Mm-hmm.
Or you siding with corrupt politicians to already dampen the voice that you barely have now? Right. Because you can elect these people, but are they really doing the will of the people?
Right.
Because if gerrymandering is wrong, and every politician is saying it's wrong now, mm-hmm. It existed as they've been in office for these decades. Why have they never gotten rid of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if politicians are corrupt, then, you just gave them more power, because now you put yourself in a situation where you don't have a fighting chance for there to be another option.
Yeah.
Because you packed the district so tight that it's always going to be that person of that party.
Right.
So you're cutting your own tongue out. Like, it's just, why? To win?
Right.
Like, if you believe this is the war, is this a battle that you want to fight?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that. Is this actually a battle that you want to fight? already suppressing the voice that you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to spite somebody else.
I think that that's why there's two things that you find in the tradition. So one is praying for the welfare of the government, because the idea is that if government is not in a good place, then society will eat itself alive. And
it's
eating itself alive. And the other one too, which is like an unpopular it's an unpopular thing to quote, because it kind of goes against the whole like bridge building between like the Jewish community and people in power, is that actually you should kind of be very wary of people who have power, because these are not necessarily the best people to be around. And to be very cautious of these people.
Yeah, they don't always have their best interest at heart.
Right.
So if they can use you for a moment and anything to make themselves look better, they will.
Right.
It's not about what people say, it's what people do.
Yeah.
Remember that in any aspect. This is just, in a personal relationships, whether, that's a job, or anything really. It's not what people say, it's what people do.
Right.
So if they're actually making, strides forward on certain issues that, you can feel good on, that's great, that's fantastic. Or is it that, people are saying this now?
Right.
And I do feel like that is a, good, I feel like with this whole Israel-Palestine thing.
Yeah.
Like, do these people really care about these issues, or is it just in the media and now they need something?
Right.
Are they really in the best interest of both these groups of people?
Right.
Or are they using it for a moment?
Right. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.